This is the meal for today for our family for lunch. Hot rice, Bob's ground beef, side dishes of pickles and onion kimchi, homemade style, and of course Tabasco, just in case I need to add a squirt or two more. It is delicious. I hope you guys will check this one out. I think you'll love it. Here's the starting lineup of ingredients that we have. Of course, we have the 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm going to use ground beef chuck. We can also use the extra lean ground beef. And then you see that there's a couple of bell peppers. We're going to go ahead and chop those up. Those are small bell peppers, so you want to use at least one large one, but we've got a couple of small ones. We have an onion there. We're going to go ahead and chop it up. Might end up using only about half of it. Again, that's a personal preference, but at least a half of a whole onion chopped, I think, should be added. We're going to have 4 eggs scrambled up. We're going to put that off to the side. We're going to go ahead and cook that first. And then once we do the ground beef, we're going to go ahead and cook that, drain it of most of the oil, and then start to add the ingredients, starting with the bell pepper and the onions, because we want to go ahead and saute those a little bit. Then we'll go ahead and add the sesame oil, sesame seeds, soy sauce, minced garlic, onion powder, Asian beef powder, black pepper, grated Parmesan cheese, and you can see that it's a fusion dish. It's pretty much an American dish that's been changed up a little bit with some I think Asian ingredients like the Asian beef powder, and I think that's what makes it really, really good. And then when you add the 7 to 10 squirts of Tabasco into it, that really jazzes it up, and I think it tastes super delicious. Okay, Bonnie's gotten started on cutting up the onion. We're going to go ahead and cut it into small chopped pieces. And again, recommend using at least a half of a large onion. And if you have a small onion, you could use maybe about 3/4, maybe even a whole onion, depending on how small it is. Of course, it's a personal preference, so adjust that as needed. Same thing with the bell peppers. We got a couple of small bell peppers that we're going to go ahead and cut up here in a second. And if you have one large one, that probably would be sufficient as well. Okay, Bonnie's getting the bell pepper all cut up, and you can see that she's cutting it into smaller pieces, but they're not too small. And we're also keeping the seeds from inside the bell peppers. I think that they enhance the taste of the dish. So I know that some people like to remove the bell peppers seeds, but we're going to go ahead and keep that and include it with the bell peppers when we add it to the ground beef. Okay, the cooking of the ground beef is underway. This is the first thing that you want to go ahead and cook up, and so we're cooking that now on medium-high heat, and you'll see that it has a fair amount of oil because it is ground beef chuck. We're going to go ahead and just in a few minutes drain as much as possible the oil, but we're going to keep a little bit just to help have that for the cooking process with the ground beef when we add the other ingredients. Okay, it's been a few minutes of cooking the ground beef. That's all it takes, because of course it's going to cook a little further once we add all the other ingredients. And now it's time to drain out all the grease from the hamburger meat. And Bonnie's not going to really strain the meat. We're just going to go ahead and pull it up once most of the oil comes out, and then just add it back into the dish or the skillet. Okay, so the ground beef is going into the bowl to be on standby, and now we're going to go ahead and scramble up the eggs. Okay, so Bonnie, of course, is cracking open 4 eggs that we're going to scramble up. You can adjust this to less eggs if you don't want as many eggs. Our family loves eggs. And for those who don't want eggs at all, you can go ahead and and there's always like a little snafu when we're cooking something up. But anyway, you can go ahead and just skip the eggs if you don't want to have the dish include eggs. Okay, we've been cooking the scrambled eggs for a minute or two. They're just about done. We're going to go ahead and just add that into the bowl with the ground beef. And now we're going to go ahead and just saute up for just a minute or two with a little bit of cooking oil, the chopped up onions and bell peppers, just to soften them up a little bit. So on medium heat, we're going to go ahead and saute up the vegetables a little bit. And this is a personal choice too, as far as how much you want to cook it. If you like it with a little more crunch, saute them less. But in our case, we're going to go ahead and probably saute it for about maybe several minutes, and just to soften it up. And then we'll go ahead and add the egg and ground beef into the mix. Okay, it looks like the sauteing of the bell peppers and onions is done. We're dropping in the scrambled eggs and ground beef. And this is where a little bit of extra oil, if you will, from the ground beef chuck kind of helps with the cooking process. That's why I actually prefer the 80% ground beef chuck instead of the extra lean. If you do cook with extra lean ground beef, make sure you add a little bit of cooking oil to help with the cooking so it doesn't stick and burn. Once Bonnie gets that all kind of mixed up evenly, it's time to start to add the ingredients. Okay, we're going to start with the sesame oil. And then the sesame seeds, soy sauce, minced garlic, granulated onion powder, Asian beef powder, black pepper, grated Parmesan cheese, and then we'll start off with about 7 squirts of Tabasco. Sometimes I add a little more, maybe up to 10 squirts of Tabasco. So in just a second, Bonnie will go ahead and add the Tabasco after she gets it all mixed up. This is an optional ingredient, but I think it really, really helps to jazz up the ground beef dish. So, honey, that was about 7 squirts? Mm-hmm. Okay. So after a taste test, we might add a little more, but usually it's about 7 to 10 squirts of Tabasco. And again, that's a personal preference, how much Tabasco you might want to add, if at all. Once this is all done, it's in a bowl. A lot of times I actually like to sprinkle a little more grated Parmesan cheese on top. I think the Parmesan cheese really, really helps to enhance the dish as well. It's definitely a fusion dish. It's got the sesame oil and some Asian ingredients along with Parmesan cheese, and it's definitely a classic fusion American Korean type of dish. Okay, we just did a taste test, and it tastes good with 7 squirts of Tabasco, but honey, let's go ahead for our family, add about 3 more squirts of Tabasco into the ground beef. 1, 2, 3. Maybe 1 more squirt, honey. Okay, so that's about roughly 10 squirts of Tabasco, and I think that for me and our family, I think that is the perfect amount, but again, you can adjust that to your personal preference. I recommend 7 to 10 squirts of Tabasco though. So we've got it reduced to low heat now, and just finishing up the cooking here. Going to go ahead and mix around for another minute or two, and I think it'll be all ready for the family. Okay, getting some banchan added into the dish there. You can see that we have some of the Korean yellow pickle and some Korean homemade onion kimchi. We're going to go ahead now and scoop up the ground beef. Honey, go ahead and add that in there. And our kids are already off camera on standby waiting for lunch. And along with their bowl of rice, they will be set. Good job, honey. That looks really pretty. So this is Bob's ground beef with bell peppers, onions, and scrambled egg. Fusion style. I hope you guys check it out. It's really, really delicious. I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching.